Welcome to the K-Drama Show with Ashely and Kim.
That's Ashely.
That's Kim. We're here to recap and relive our favorite moments of our favorite K-dramas with you, our listeners.
And we're going to jump right in. So this is your one and only warning. There are spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, go ahead and go watch that and come join back up with us. And we're going to talk about the episode together. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Welcome to the K-Drama Show. I'm Ashely.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive. And we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the K-Drama Show with Ashely and Kim. Okay, so first we want to plug the Ashely Tea.
Yes.
Which is a beloved segment that we used to feature directly on the podcast, but we were kind of finding that the timing of it wasn't great, so we've moved it to its own little segment that lives on our Instagram page at the KDrama Show. So make sure you go check that out. Go give her some love over there.
I'm working on doing my best, guys.
Hey, it's hard.
It's a lot.
All right, so do you want to kick us off with our episode 2 recap?
Sure. So, MiRae has dodged an awkward conversation of her identity when KyungSeok abruptly leaves and changes the topic. At the entrance ceremony, MiRae's father has learned that his daughter's gotten surgery and he is heartbroken. In their first day of classes, MiRae is greeted by everyone, quite enthusiastically, but she's then called over by ChanWoo, who has invited her to lunch, and he asks her if she's given any more thought to them being in a relationship. She leaves to collect herself and try to hype herself up to turn him down, but Sua has watched this entire exchange, and she goes up to ChanWoo and tells him that she likes him, but it's okay that he likes MiRae. MiRae returns, to ChanWoo getting up to leave and telling her that it was a mistake. He likes someone else instead. And as he walks by, KyungSeok trips ChanWoo and then apologizes for his mistake.
Whoops.
It causes an extreme reaction from ChanWoo. But then later, KyungSeok and MiRae, they talk again after that whole exchange, and she confirms to him that yes, she is the MiRae that he went to school with, but can he please not tell anyone about what she used to look like? At Yoojin's bar, the freshman party is being held, and the group begins to play a drinking game, where at one point MiRae and KyungSeok tie, and he drinks for her. At this party, Sua also gets complimented for her looks and points out that she is a natural beauty. And she also, tells everyone that MiRae is also a natural beauty. KyungSeok calls her out for her behavior, but MiRae jumps up to her defense. ChanWoo then talks with Sua and asks her when they are going to start dating, and she turns him down, saying it's not fair because MiRae likes him. ChanWoo follows MiRae and demands that she tell Sua that she doesn't like him, and when she tries to leave, he calls her a plastic monster and goes to hit her. MiRae pushes him away and yells at him, saying that she has done nothing wrong. And that is what I have for our recap for episode 2. There were just so many little things that were important enough to figure out what
it's hard
was deemed important
right
to continue on to the next episode.
No, most of that was pretty good.
Thanks. How did you do that for Goblin? Holy smokes. There was
tough.
So much for Goblin.
It's tough.
This is her sweet revenge.
That's why I didn't always have one every week, because I'm just like, that is a lot of work right now. Do it later.
I just have sections.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do, man. So we pick up episode 3.
Episode 3.
So MiRae had just had her fight with ChanWoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
ChanWoo Sunbae, and is walking the street when she passes KyungSeok, and he is helping a very drunk one-hole home at this point, who had challenged him to a drinking fight over Sua.
Mm-hmm.
But MiRae, she stops in front of a storefront and basically just puts her head into her knees and kind of starts to just wonder what is happening with her life. She thought it would get better after the surgery, and it's somehow getting worse. And she's sitting there when WooYoung Sunbae notices her, the TA from class, right? And he asks if she's okay. And she's really on edge at first because her experiences with men so far at this school have been ChanWoo, and
they have been garbage.
Have been very negative. But she quickly realizes that she knows him as the TA from her chemistry class, and then he proceeds to offer her a bottle of water, which causes her to flash back to ChanWoo's advances during orientation, and she just knocks it out of his hand reflexively. Mm-hmm. And at that moment is when KyungSeok arrives, and he basically just says, "Come on, we're going. Let's get out of here." And there's this power struggle that ensues between TA WooYoung and KyungSeok, where they're both just questioning each other's motives, basically for, well, why do you want to take this drunk girl home? Do you even know her that well? What are you going to do? Don't you know how suspicious this looks right now?
I don't know what your relationship is, but this can be considered violence.
Right. And they essentially, KyungSeok has his hand on MiRae, and then WooYoung has his hand on KyungSeok, so they're all kind of interlocked. And then finally, MiRae's just done. She just yanks her arm out, and she says, "Don't grab me just because you want to KyungSeok, and then leaves. And then WooYoung's just like, "Now look what you did.
This is all your fault.
This is your fault."
The audacity. Poor MiRae, though. But also good for her of just being like, you know what?
Hey, she's getting assertive.
I can handle my own problems here.
But like you said, she's kind of always been willing to do that. It's just that she's had to weigh the pros and cons of the retaliation.
Right. And now this is a different type of scale that she's having to weigh these things on.
Right.
This is a whole new
ball game.
Whole new game. Later, we see that Sua actually has gotten out of a taxi, and a couple of the upperclassmen get out of that same cab, and then another cab stops right behind them, and a couple more of the guys tumble out.
Up to the curb.
And they're just like, the first two are like, we were just getting her home safe. Like, she's with us. She's okay. And we're like, yeah, that's why we're here. We want to make sure she's okay. And she just, bids them all good night and walks towards these apartments, and all the guys just stare. And there's these massive, apparently a very, very nice complex.
Skyscraper style apartments.
And they're like, wow, yeah, her family must be really well off for this to be where she's living now. MiRae is sitting at a different restaurant, which just seems a little more sit down type of a place. And she's just replaying the recent events over and over and over in her head, and is asking herself, why can't she just have a normal life? And this man just sits down next to her, has his arm around her, and he's like, "Hey, I've been looking for you." And she just goes, "What? What?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I've, been looking for you. Can't believe I just found you.
It's your oppa."
Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know who you are." And she's already so shaken up that this is coming across more threatening for her right now. And I don't think it was a threatening situation, but where her mindset is, this is not the type of situation she needs to be going through right now. And he looks at her and asks, don't you remember me from the club last night? Like, we had a good time. And she's like, I don't know you. And Hyunjun walks in and just goes, "Who's this?
This guy giving you trouble?"
Yeah. MiRae's just like, "I have no idea." And he goes, "You're not Yuri or whatever her name was supposed to be?" And she goes, "No." And he goes, my bad, I'm sorry," and just leaves. And poor girl sits down and just bursts into tears and just like, basically like, can my night get worse?
Apparently
it just got worse. But Hyunjin asks her, are you okay? And very, very tearfully, MiRae tells her, he called me a plastic monster and said that there were people just like me all over Gangnam. And true best friend fashion goes, "Does he want to die? Like, I'll kill him." That is me. I'm that best friend. Ask any of my other friends. I will throw down. Let's go. But then we cut to Sua, and she's standing, like, leaning against a wall, just standing in the dark outside. And she's like, sighs, looks at her phone, and then walks and just goes and sits at a bus stop. So clearly those apartments is not where she lives. And we got
Well,
something
she has this
to hide.
very somber, almost like tired look on her face. Where she's, I don't know, seems like she's kind of contemplating some things. Seems like a lot of effort she's going through to keep up appearances.
Yeah, that's not worth it. It's too much work. The older you get, the more
I don't
you
have
realize
the brain
that.
space for that.
I have too much that I'm trying to figure out now. So Hyunjin is mad. We're back at the restaurant. And she's telling MiRae to report ChanWoo, saying, you know, how dare he? And MiRae's just like, yeah, but I also hit him. She's like, doesn't matter. The one who starts it should be the one who gets in trouble. If only that's how the law worked. But then she also mentions how she doesn't like Sua because how could she say that in front of everyone? Like, that's not somebody who's close and who's friends. They don't do that. To which it sparks this conversation where MiRae decides to ask, you know, like, what do I say when people ask? Like, I can't lie about it. Like,
We can't deny it. It's too obvious.
Right. And like the psychology major and great friend that she is, Hyunjin helps her find the right way to put it. And she tells her, if you lie and say that you got nothing done, you're just obnoxious. Take out the word only. Just say you got your eyes and your nose done. Leave it at that, basically. And encourages her to be confident, to not overreact to things. And
well, I love that she says, don't flaunt it in people's faces, basically. And then MiRae's like, right, because plastic surgery is nothing to be confident about. And Hyunjung says, did I say to not be confident? I'm just telling you not to go overboard. She's such a good friend.
She's a great friend.
Where do I sign up for friends like that?
Hi. Hi.
Word.
We right here. But MiRae also, you know, figured out that she's not sure where she's supposed to categorize herself now. Of like, she's like, I can't say that I'm just pretty. I can't say that I'm average. Like, I don't know where I'm supposed to put myself.
But I'm not ugly anymore.
But I'm not ugly. And Hyunjin just tells her, you know what? If you had to choose, just adjust to being pretty.
Hey, you wench, she says.
Just like in Goblin, wench needs to be a word we bring back.
She's like, people have told you to your face that you are their type. You're clearly not ugly anymore. Like, get over yourself. Let's pick ourselves up by our bootstraps here.
Yeah, let's go.
Move on with your life.
Get a move on.
But we are at the airport, and we see this woman in black who answers a phone call, and she is addressed as CEO. We don't really know who she is, but Do Sang-won, KyungSeok's father, is in the office, and he's watching like this dance that's been put together by his campaign team, and he doesn't seem to be very impressed or entertained by the whole thing.
No.
But his secretary recommends that, you know, KyungSeok should be a part of this campaign to influence the younger vote since he's so good looking, and, you know, KyungSeok is better looking than this candidate's daughter, and yada yada yada. And Sangwon's just kind of like, yeah, don't say those things. But while this is happening, Sangwon is informed that the CEO of Kelon is calling, and we learn that the woman in black from the airport is actually KyungSeok's mother. And she has returned to Korea to see her children, whether or not Sangwon approves of it. So we are now back on campus, and Sangwon walks up to Wonho and says, "Excuse me, could you stand up? There are too many guys after you, so I wanted to make you mine. You're my woman." And Wonho looks at him and is just like, "Do you want to die?" And Wonho he's so downtrodden from the night before.
Yes.
And he's contemplating going to the military. When Sua walks up and compliments how long Wonho's legs look. And it's basically as if the confession had like never even happened the night before. And he perks up and like immediately hope is restored that he is the love of her life after all.
Someone's my favorite though in that moment.
Yes. He's just like, yeah.
Maybe you should join the army to regain your senses.
You should just go to the military. So KyungSeok and Yena are now walking on campus, and Yena is saying Sua is so slow for not picking up on the atmosphere at the bar the other night, and for not noticing MiRae's obvious plastic surgery. But Sua, in the middle of this conversation, greets Yena, and KyungSeok is like, bye, I didn't want to be here anyway. But Sua stops him, basically telling Yena, like, I need to speak with him about their chemistry class.
Right.
Even though Yena was like, hello, I was talking to him first. You need to go away.
Step off.
But as Yena is leaving, she whispers, Sua whispers to her that she has a gochugaru flake in her teeth. Yena's like looking in her little clamshell mirror, being like, oh, it was there. And she re-says the statement that she had made to KyungSeok. I said dokwa. And she was like testing to see if you could actually see it, and she's just like, oh, you could. And she walks away. But Sua is busy trying to resolve the tension between KyungSeok and herself.
Yeah, because, they're on the same team and they have to work together. And she tells him, I have apologized to MiRae. I only thought that she was so pretty. I only said that because I really didn't know. I'm so slow-witted. Please. And this whole time that she's just going on and on, KyungSeok's just sitting there and he's just like... Literally the expression is like, watching grass grow is more entertaining than this conversation right now.
Yeah. Or when are you going to get to the honest part of your apology?
Like, whatever. And so he asks her, if you didn't know she got plastic surgery, why did you ask if she did or not? And she tries to be like, well, I wasn't thinking about it. And he looks at her and says, you don't look that thoughtless. Did you tell ChanWoo that you like him without thinking as well? Well, then again, you might actually like him. And he doesn't
Brutal.
care. He cuts to the chase. He's here to be honest and call people out. And, she tries to play it off like, I just want the seniors to like me. And he's like, yeah, well, if you have nothing left, to say. And he gets ready to leave. And then I don't know which classmate this is supposed to be. Ji-hyo, okay. I'm making notes next to, like who they are so that I haven't, otherwise I'm never going to remember names. Okay, now I know who we're talking about, because of the different, later in the episode of a conversation. Okay, so Ji-hyo comes and, sees what they're talking about and what they're doing, and she sits next to Sua and is like, well, did he apologize to you? And Sua you see her face change, and she just works out this whole story, instantly. Of yeah, kind of, I told him not to worry about it, that I was okay. And which then just prompts this new direction of a conversation that is like, oh, well, he must have been really, really bothered, for how he treated you, for him to come and apologize. But it just seems kind of weird that he's playing this game with you of acting really cold with other people around and then wants to meet with you in private. What's the game that's being played when...
Well, she says it's weird that he's trying to be tsundere, which is actually a Japanese term. And it comes from anime.
Okay.
And it's the character development that depicts a character who initially has a harsh personality and gradually reveals a warmer, friendlier side over time, as opposed to yandere, which is the opposite, where you're bubbly and always in their face. If you watch One Piece, it's the Nami guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
It fits. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So with this, new revelation, then Sua is feeling out more competition here of well, do you like him? And she's told that Teo only likes guys who are nice and approachable, not
warm and
cold.
Yeah.
Like KyungSeok is. But But then she asked Sua, like, you know, like, how are you so slow-witted? Because it was obvious that MiRae had gotten surgery.
Even the clueless one was like, bro,
you're dumb.
You done messed up, Aaron.
I say that way too much, and that's, like, so appropriate. But MiRae is actually walking to class, and in her fog, she feels like everybody's looking at her, everybody's talking about her, whispering about everything. And the reality is when she comes, like, when the camera comes back out, is nobody cares. Nobody's looking at her, saying what she's imagining them to say right next to her.
I think that kind of exposes a lot. I thought that was a bug. I think that exposes a lot of the heart of her problem being self-centered.
Yeah.
Disregarding her father's wishes in order to attain this certain standard of physical beauty. But it didn't, and as we'll discuss later, it did not fix what's happening here and here. It's just a Band-Aid on a bigger issue that she herself needs to work through.
Right.
And she hasn't quite figured out that that's
a problem.
An issue, yeah.
Actually, what I have written here is, in reality, no one is looking, but her insecurities are loud.
Yeah, that's true.
So she's sitting in a classroom, and she's, like, just writing her name on a piece of paper over and over, and then she scribbles it out. And KyungSeok comes in and sits beside her, and she's kind of like, why are you here? And he's like, no, I have class. But then he asks her if she's an overly self-conscious person, to which she takes her hair and hides behind it like she used to. Or not even used to, how she has up until this point. And after the class, she pulls him aside to talk, and tells him that he seems to be too involved in all of her problems and that he needs to stop overreacting. And she goes, I know that it's obvious that I had surgery done. And he asks her why she got surgery. And, but so MiRae asks him, what do you mean? Don't you know? Like, you know what I used to look like. And he has another moment of calling her out, of like, who says it's a must for some and not for others? And she's like, well, you know what I used to look like? If I looked like any of these other girls that we go to school with, I never would have dreamed of it.
She says, I didn't want to look like Sua or even Ji-hyo, her friend, right? If I'd looked like Eun or Jungboon, I would have been happy. I just wanted to be average.
But I was below. And, yeah, but then KyungSeok calls her out again and asks, do you look at people's faces and do you grade them? And he goes, you needed surgery on your unhealthy mindset, not your face. And I just have, thank you, KyungSeok. Thank you. Sorry,
she does not take that well, though. And she she storms off on him. Like, what do you know? Because she's looking at him like, you're a beautiful human. You've never had to endure the things that I've had to endure. And what I have to endure is scraping the bottom of the pot, buddy. Again, a very self-centered way to look at your own personal struggles and assume that no one else has them. But meanwhile, Eun and Jungboon are cleaning the chemistry department office when ChanWoo busts in the door. And he asks if Eun is the class representative, and she says yes. So a text is sent out which demands that the freshmen all gather together according to ChanWoo's instructions, as he decides it's basically time to teach them all a little bit of RESPCT. Yena catches up with KyungSeok, leaving his conversation with MiRae, and asks if he's going home. And he's like, yeah. And she goes, well, you're not going to go to the freshman gathering? And he's like, what are you talking about? And she goes, you must not check your phone very often. But she says ChanWoo called all the freshmen together. So when only a handful of the freshmen have gathered out on the running track outside, ChanWoo is furious, and he starts to swear at them for being so insolent, calling out KyungSeok specifically, can't imagine why.
What?
Get ready for a proper punishment today. You're all dead. Get on the ground. And he's like screaming at them. But he's interrupted by Jungho Sunbae, who warns him that someone could take a picture of this and upload it to SNS, right? Not a good look. So he screams at them again to gather in a locker room, where he demands again that they get on the ground. But nobody moves. And then he says, what, is there not enough room? Fine, the girls can get out, but not you, Kang Mi-rae. Plastic girls who think they're pretty because they're fixed. Oh, plastic girls who think they're pretty because they fixed everything need to be taught a lesson. You can discern a person's character by their looks. And that right there, I put, this is the theme of this entire show, is that statement right there.
Yeah.
Sua then pipes up and says that she'll also stay then if Mi-rae has to stay. But ChanWoo turns and he very sweetly just goes, you did nothing wrong. This is about Mi-rae's faults. Like, you should go. And then Mi-rae just goes, what did I do wrong? And then she raises her voice and goes, what did I do wrong? What did any of these people here do wrong? And then he screams again at everyone to leave except for Mi-rae. He grabs her by the shirt collar, saying that she should apologize. Should I bring your face back to its original state? And at this point, finally somebody, Eun and Jungho Sunbae, step in at this moment to try to calm him. But he turns his anger on Jungho and actually slaps him across the face super hard.
Yes.
And everyone backs off again. And ChanWoo blames Mi-rae for his nickname, which is, what was it?
Son of a jerk.
Son of a jerk, right? And throws her to the ground. I'll punish you for both you and KyungSeok. And at this moment, it's like, speak of the devil. KyungSeok enters the scene with a flying kick to ChanWoo's spine, knocking him to the ground. He calls him crazy, and ChanWoo comes at him with a mop. KyungSeok stops it fairly easily and takes ChanWoo, mop, and all into a stall and leaves him looking like a lesson had been learned that day.
I say.
Wonho, though, I love this part, and Songwon are like, they make sure to get photo evidence of the butt whooping before taking their leave. And after all this transpires, WooYoung Sunbae pulls Eun into his office and asks if the rumors that he's been hearing are true. It's one of my favorite scenes in the entire show.
That was great.
Between the tripping scene and this scene,
those are pretty good. I hate to go back to after his whole little speech of your face is a reflection of your heart.
Yes.
Am I wrong? And I have in all caps. I go, hold up. What in the actual crazy Looney Tune fantasy land are you living in that gives you any right to criticize? You are a washed up holdout fifth year that has never dated. Because if your face is a reflection of your heart, you look like you crawled out of a hole.
Oh no.
I was so mad. It pissed me off so I told you. It had me raging so hard.
Remind me to never make you angry. I'll just keep throwing food at you.
Okay. The other thing that really pissed me off is when ChanWoo tells the guys to leave, and they do.
Yeah.
That made me so angry. Like, this guy is clearly unhinged. Clearly unhinged. And you're going to leave anyone? I don't care if it's just a guy or a girl, whatever. You're leaving one person behind to deal with his psychotic break.
I didn't like that after the one Sunbae gets slapped. Even Jungboon comes and takes Eun away and says, okay, this isn't our problem anymore. He's getting violent. And it's like, take both of them.
Right. She
all
is
of
sitting
you
there on the floor.
Together. He can't
Or
beat
not on
up
the floor
all
yet.
of you.
But yeah, like you giving in, you are giving him control.
Passivity is...
It's a problem.
Just as...
You are just as guilty
as
somebody who's partaking in that action. And so,
right.
yeah, that made me so angry of, like, guys, he's having small man syndrome right now. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, but you're giving him the power that he craves by listening to him when he's acting like a true psychopath.
Giving him an audience, yeah. And
if it would have been, you know what? when he's, on the track, when he's like, you guys are so disrespectful and da-da-da. Dude, we don't have to be here. You actually aren't in control of anything for us.
But culturally speaking, I think he is.
But, well, at the same token, though, when it's somebody being crazy like that, that's when you need to take it to a higher, like, having WooYoung going, what's going on here? Like, when somebody is saying, hey, you have to come eat because I said so, at least maybe this is just me also being a firstborn person of, like, one, you don't tell me what to do. Try. I'll respect you, but if you're going to be a lunatic like that, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to get somebody else because clearly you need somebody else to redirect you that is above you. So yeah. I'm going to go find that person.
Yeah. I also think, though, that, I mean, he's acted out before. I don't think anyone thought it was going to escalate like this.
That's fair.
Especially not at any one woman in that scenario, but
you don't leave one person behind.
No, you don't. And
so that made me really angry.
It was very frustrating to watch. But also,
I know it's a show, but it got me going.
I couldn't tell at all.
I know. Surprising information.
But word is spreading like wildfire about this fight between KyungSeok and ChanWoo. Kim ChanWoo.
I just gotten to the point where his new nickname is Mop.
And there's been some creative liberties taken, some embellishments made given the
he flew from this end to this end.
Yeah. I love, though, that it's the judo students eating lunch, and they're like, maybe we should recruit him to our department, because dang.
Wow, bro. At the same time, though, Wonho is complaining about KyungSeok's impeccable timing of I was going to kick him, and then he just had to show up.
Yeah, clearly. With your long legs, right?
And Seonwon just looks at him and he's like, I think you should just join the military. Like,
just go.
Please go. But Jongbun and Un are actually waiting for MiRae. They're hoping that she shows up. They wouldn't blame her if she didn't come to class that day. Mm-hmm. And they run to her as soon as they see her and, are asking, are you okay? Un apologizes, I'm sorry that I called everybody there. Jongbun apologizes, like, I should have stuck up for you. I should have stood my ground no matter how scared I was. And they're just apologizing and talking about, I should have done this. And MiRae just sits there and is just staring at them and thinks back to the first time that she ever saw them and how she was grading their faces and how they looked. Mm-hmm. And she realizes, these are such nice people, and what on earth was I thinking of, like,
taking to heart what KyungSeok
actually said. I judged them by their looks and graded their faces. And she just looks at them and she tells them that she is so sorry. And they look at her like, you did nothing wrong. What's your apology about? Mm-hmm. But then she also thanks them. And I think this is the moment where
You're fine.
Where she's realizing these are real friends. Mm-hmm. These are people I want in my corner.
Yeah. I'm glad that they acknowledged that they were sucky friends in that moment. But yes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It made it slightly less frustrating and a little more human because, being honest, people like me do struggle to speak up in times of, like, injustice in the moment, and then spend the whole night thinking of all of the retorts you could have possibly had in the world to throw back at the person.
It's a terrible place to be sometimes.
Yeah, that whole fight or flight. I'm a freezer. It's not good. It almost got me killed on a golf course once. Different story for another time. Continue.
Make note of that. What? So MiRae talks to Sua and, thanks her for staying behind because of all people, Sua did stay behind, like, and stand up. She did go, like, she went and stood next to her and she's like, well, I'm going to stay too. That is a big deal. So yes, for her to thank her, I feel like was obviously highly appropriate. But Sua just tells her, yeah, it's, we're friends. Of course I would do that. And she goes, I just wanted to apologize because I didn't know if he was taking things too far because of me.
The thing you have to think, though, in this context, when MiRae is thanking her, it cuts away to other students talking about how MiRae was so brave for sticking up to ChanWoo.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't Sua braver for it not being her conflict and stepping in and defending MiRae?
What a loyal friend.
What a loyal friend. And then it pans back to Sua, thinking in her head, like, yeah, I checked that box, basically.
Look at me go. I was doing a hair flip for those of you who don't know on the video.
Okay, I'm glad you explained that because I didn't know what was happening either.
But Sua tells her, that ChanWoo had told her that he liked her, but she turned him down because he was making her uncomfortable. And he thought it was MiRae's fault. It was him jumping to conclusions. False. But MiRae thinks back to the alleyway conversation where he was telling her that Sua had told him that MiRae liked him, and that's why they couldn't date. And instead, she just looks at Sua and just like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you're fine. And this is when Sua tells her that everybody is now calling ChanWoo Mop, which is a truly great nickname. But at a computer cafe, KyungSeok overhears a couple of the guys saying that MiRae had come back to school. And at the same time, MiRae and Sua are still talking, and Sua just tells her, it was really KyungSeok that came to the rescue. He seems to give you a lot of special treatment. Like, are you dating? And MiRae's just going, where did that come? What left
Didn't realize
field
this
craziness?
was a stop on the crazy train over here.
What? And she's like, no, not at all. And Sua tells her, I saw you share secrets. And it was, when he returned the perfume to her. And she's like, did he confess his feelings? Does he have a crush on you? And she's like, MiRae clearly doesn't know that this is somebody who knows how to control a conversation and glean information from people, whether they want to give it or not. And she says, no, it's because we're alumni. And she just goes, crap. I begged him not to say anything, and here I am opening my mouth.
She asked if they were classmates.
Oh, yeah.
And then MiRae, goes on to confirm, yeah, we went to the same middle school together, even.
Yeah, she just keeps...
Was it middle school, high school? It was middle school. Oh, right. And then she's kicking herself for this. In her defense, though, Sua has proven herself to be a pretty decent friend, considering she stuck her neck out for her a couple of times. She's comforted her in times of need. So, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you feel comfortable enough to share those kinds of details with somebody?
Yeah.
But in the same breath, she's also starting to realize that Sua is portraying things in a light, in a manner in which they did not happen. And I think this is one of the first moments that she really sees that.
Right.
Given the conversations that she's had with ChanWoo and Sua. Because as crazy as ChanWoo is, he is not a liar. He's just a psycho.
He's just insane.
Yeah. But WooYoung Sunbae has called ChanWoo into his office. And ChanWoo starts to defend himself, just basically asking, why are you taking the junior side? We're classmates. We are thick as thieves. Come on, man.
Bro.
Let's control them together. And WooYoung kind of gets this look on his face. Kim ChanWoo, from now on, if you harass our juniors one more time for whatever reason, I'm going to do my best to ruin your future. Got it? I'm going to find out everything you do by asking the juniors myself, and I'm going to make sure you don't get any letters of recommendation from professors when you apply for jobs. If you still happen to get a job without a recommendation, I'm going to tell our seniors in the industry everything you did. So get your act together. I try my best in everything I do, and you know that.
You know I can ruin your life.
Oh, sweet, sweet justice. But MiRae and KyungSeok, they meet in passing. And they kind of stumble over each other's sentences, and then finally he just says, were you going to ask if I wanted to get something to eat? And she was like, sure. So they're in the cafeteria together, and she offers to basically buy his meal as thanks for the day before. And she goes, what do you want? I want the spicy pork or something like that. And
stir fry or something.
Yeah, and she presses the tonkatsu button, the pork cutlet button. And she's just like, oh, shoot. And he just presses the dish that she wanted and takes the tickets to the line. So meanwhile, Sua is talking with Jihyo and Jungboon about the new information about MiRae, which I'm like, what a dirty thing to do.
There's a pot that she is just going, I just want to stir it a little bit more.
And she goes to one of MiRae's friends as if to like shift loyalties there. I feel like.
I agree.
But Wonho and Sungwon walk into the room and they share this information with them, with the guys. And Sungwon says, his behavior tells me that before she fixed her face, she wasn't that bad either. Do you think KyungSeok used to like her? And Jihyo says, that's ridiculous. I'm like, what a freaking jerk.
Rude. But also Sua's face just goes...
Yeah, she stiffens. She bristles at the
I don't like the idea that he could have liked anybody. He's supposed to like me.
I'm clearly
Superior.
number one. Anyway. But they're eating.
Yes.
And they start to talk about Kim ChanWoo. But she thanks him and confesses basically that he was wrong for being so... Or she was wrong for being so judgmental. But he couldn't understand how she feels since, he's so naturally good looking. And he apologizes about being so harsh toward her, which I thought was very nice of him. And she admits, basically, you were right for calling me out. I was being ridiculous. And then he goes, but people say I'm cool. Is that what you think? And she goes, no. You were popular in middle school, remember? And he goes, maybe I was. And then she calls him annoying. And he says, did you normally think I was annoying? And then she apologizes and she's like, no. And he goes, I'm just asking, are you scared again for no reason? And he's just like smoldering at her at this point. And she says she's not the type to get easily scared. And he just goes back to eating. And I love the music that plays in the background, that ding, 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 ding.
I just liked it because he's reaching out an olive branch of friendship in that moment of like, wait, so you think I'm annoying? Really?
He's teasing her.
He's and making it light of like, you can talk to me, you can joke with me.
I'm approachable.
I really don't care what people think. I probably care what you think, and I don't know how to. Because
if you want to be friends, then yeah, I'm gonna care what you think.
Right,
to an extent.
To an extent, but just like, yeah, I like this moment where he's and. I was telling Kim this earlier. I think he's hilarious because he's just straight, no emotion.
Yeah.
And just like, it's like you can see him joking with his eyes more than his actual facial expressions. I'm like, I have found it to be hilarious pretty much.
It's kind of like that highbrow humor in the sense where you are looking for people that are on your level of intelligence. You know what I mean? Like if they get it, then they have an in. But if they're just so flustered about my looks and it flies over their head, it's like, I don't
need to be hanging out with you.
Yeah.
You're not my type of people.
And MiRae's like kind of here with it right now because she's still flustered by his looks, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, because he's beautiful.
But she intrigues him because even though, yes, she made a superficial decision about the surgery, it was not for superficial reasons. It was not, as far as he can tell, to get a leg up on anyone. It was just that she wanted to stop the incessant bullying. Right.
She wanted life to become
he can reconcile
tolerable.
That. He can reconcile that, I think, to an extent. But he's still frustrated with her because he's like, there is more to life than just being beautiful.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be... Well, and it's just like you just need to think about how people really are rather than what you see.
Right.
Okay, so MiRae goes home for a night. And she walks to like the gate into like the courtyard to the house and just goes, it's been 4 months. So it's been 4 months since she's last been home. So that's before surgery and everything.
Right.
And her mom is on the phone, and it's with her dad, and she's just going, "TaeSik, you've done enough. You want a child to look exactly like you? I'll give birth to another baby."
Bold statement.
Ooh.
For someone in their 50s, I'm guessing.
40s, 50s. But at this moment, MiRae walks in, and she surprises her mom, and she goes, "Mom, I brought dumplings," asks where her dad is, and her mom just tells her that he is at a funeral of a friend's father.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be coming back tonight. And she asks, "Did you come home because something had happened?" And MiRae just tells her, "No, nothing happened." And at this same time, TaeSik is drinking with some of his friends, and one of the guys says, that TaeSik is buying because his daughter is at Kook University. It's one of the most prestigious universities, and they, ask for pictures of entrance day, and he goes, "I don't have the pictures. My wife has them on her phone." Just drink. And then they start to ask, is MiRae going to give us a tour of campus? And he goes, she is so busy that she doesn't even have time to come home.
Mm-hmm.
And so they keep pestering him about it, and he stands up because he's like, I'm just going to leave. And we cut back to her house, and MiRae's mom is watching the video of MiRae dancing at the orientation party. And she's watching it on repeat. She's so proud. And she asks, how school's going. And MiRae's just like, "Yeah, it's good. It's, I like it." And then she just says, "I guess the money was worth it. Now that you look pretty, they're finally seeing your true value." And MiRae stops for a minute and just goes, "Well, then what's my true value?" And her mom tells her that she is cute, bright, nice, and cheerful. She's always been cheerful. "I always thought you were going to be a celebrity. You danced so well at your first birthday. But really, I just want you to make friends, have fun, and enjoy life. Because life is all about fighting through your struggles. And everyone has them, even if they act like they have a worry-free life." And I don't know how I felt about that. About her mom's response to her question of what is my true value. And I'm like, I don't really love her response. I don't hate it.
It goes back to understanding that she feels that by fixing the cover of the book, you've not inherently changed anything about the story or the content, but you've made people want to pick it up and read it.
Right.
The problem is that we are not books. We are people. And our faces are a part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just kind of glossing over that fact because she wants so badly for people to love her daughter as she loves her, but has skipped over so much to get there that it actually has damaged her daughter in the meantime.
And it's such a
irreversible
deep
way. I mean, you don't get that face back.
No, you can't. I mean,
even though ChanWoo threatened it. Which, what kind of a threat is that? Oh my gosh.
Right. But yeah, it just, I do like that she, after that though, said of, life, you have to fight through your struggles, and everyone has them.
Mm-hmm. I did appreciate that part.
Even if they pretend like they don't. So that part I liked. I didn't care.
Good job, Mom.
I didn't care for
we approve
the sentence before that. I didn't like that one. But then we actually see TaeSik being refused entry at a sauna because he had been drinking. And he gets back into his taxi and hears the voicemail from his wife, and actually hears his daughter come in saying that she brought dumplings, asking where her dad is, and then it cuts off because it's a voicemail. It can only record so much. And he keeps pressing it,
hoping there's more. He wants to reconcile. He wants things to be okay, but he feels so betrayed.
And he should feel betrayed. That was intentional.
intentionally deceived, and
by the two people that he loves the most.
Well, the problem is they don't feel remorse.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
At all.
They don't see the wrongdoing that happened, and they don't understand why he's so frustrated. He should be happy for her. And I think until that is acknowledged, it's going to be a uphill struggle.
Yes. So Yujin is interviewing Jungboon for a part-timer position at his bar.
Berlin.
So fancy. And she's like, I have my health certificate. I have this, and this. And he's like, yeah, everything looks good. It seems to be in order. He's like, but, your Satori, your dialect is a bit, And she just instantly changes it. And she's like, yeah, but I can speak in the Seoul accent really, really well.
It's a bit unnatural. It's a bit forced.
She goes, I can fix that. And he goes, yeah, well, that's hard to fix. Oh, but there's that pretty girl, Hyunsua, isn't she interested in a part-time job? And the last word I was trying to type was rude, and it just says Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
But rude. But at the same time, Sua is also having an interview at a coffee shop.
Right.
And she's never worked a day in her life. I mean, most of these kids haven't. And the manager or owner, whoever, is just like, you're hired. You just have to stand there.
Mm-hmm.
No, and she gets hired solely based on her attractiveness, her pretty face.
But Hyunjung stops by to give MiRae a break from studying in the library. And MiRae thinks back to the night at the bus stop when KyungSeok was laughing at her, as well as the day that he asked about her perfume outside the school building. But perhaps through a slightly different lens this time, and I think Hyunjung kind of agrees with her perspective change. And they kind of start to wonder if he's really nicer now, and if the fact that he's kept her secret about going to school together, he must be on your side. He even turned Master Dog into Big Mop, referencing ChanWoo. But MiRae, she gets a text during this conversation, realizes she has won tickets to a fragrance event. She tells Hyunjung that she can go with her since there are 2 tickets. And Hyunjung's just like, cool, yeah, no. Count me out. I'm okay. And then MiRae reads part of the flyer that says, oh, Junopflo is going to be performing. And she spins around. She goes, you're lying. Let me see it. You're taking me, right? You have no one else to take anyway.
Me when I get BTS tickets. Kim, you're going with me, right?
I will go.
There's no reluctance there. There's no arm twisting.
I'd probably be more excited if you told me you got tickets to go see... Can't even think of their name right now.
NCT?
NCT.
SHINee? ATEEZ? Astro?
I don't even think SHINee is touring right now.
They just did a comeback tour of the whole group of SHINee. But Key is actually touring right now.
Solo?
Yeah, because Taemin did one earlier this year.
See, I like SHINee, but I'm not
I follow them on Instagram, so I just get the constant updates from Weverse as well.
I don't look at Instagram, which you can attest to. I don't know how many hundreds of shorts you've sent me, or reels you've sent me.
I send you a lot of recipes as well, though. Yeah.
And I don't think I looked at any of them. I'm sorry. I'm that friend. My bad.
If nothing else, I have somebody that I send it to, and I know that it's
there.
I know that I sent it to Kim.
But it's the next day, and Jihyo catches up with KyungSeok and says she heard that he went to the same school as MiRae, and he asks, basically, where'd you hear this? And Jihyo says she heard it from Sua, who heard it from MiRae. Why? Is it a secret? And then later at a convenience store, ChanWoo hands some things to Wonho and Sungwon.
Yeah, asking them to buy.
Not asking.
Oh, no, you're right.
He hands it to him and leaves.
Buy this for me. But they get to the front and they're like, I don't have my money. Oops.
And then play that game of no, you were supposed to bring your wallet. This was your idea.
Right. But then WooYoung walks up, puts his stuff down, and says, yeah, I got theirs too.
Which they have a lot.
They do have a lot.
It's not one or two things. It's like an armful
each. Yeah. And as he leaves, ChanWoo sees him leave and he just gets super annoyed. But at the same time, Wono and Sungwon are just like, that's what a senior's supposed to be like. That's how we're supposed to be taken care of.
But we're back in class now. And WooYoung is warning everyone to be careful with the flasks that they will be handling. And the students should, tie back their long hair, make their preparations. MiRae looks at Sua basically in awe as she's pulling her hair back, just like, wow, she's so beautiful when she does even the simplest things, and shows her neckline. That's like a thing. And every other male in the class like hones in on it too, and they're just like, wow, it's in slow motion. And anyway,
I just want to say, if I ever look that good putting my hair up in a ponytail, I don't know what's going to happen, because that's so unrealistic. Usually
I didn't even think it was anything that special.
Usually we're just like, get out of my rings. Like,
the tangles.
Yeah, you're just trying to get it.
Yeah,
no, that's,
exactly.
No.
But KyungSeok interrupts her admiration and asks why MiRae basically outed her own secret after specifically requesting that he keep it quiet himself. And MiRae kind of just brushes it off, and you can tell he's annoyed by this, though. Mm-hmm. So Team 3 is performing an experiment when MiRae burns herself on a flask that's on top of a hot plate, which catches KyungSeok's concern, which catches Sua's attention. WooYoung stops by, asks if she's injured as well, and she has her glove off. He's like holding her hand and looking at it, and KyungSeok's just like, I had it handled.
Bro.
It's okay.
Step off.
You're blocking me right now.
And you can leave.
But Sua notices around the classroom, everyone's kind of honing in on MiRae to make sure that she's okay. Mm-hmm. And finally, everyone gets back to work. They complete the assignment, and they're starting to clean up when Sua asks MiRae to let her clean up the flasks so that MiRae doesn't get hurt again. So MiRae is handing the flask to Sua, and we see her hold it, and then MiRae turns away. And then we hear the shattering of glass, and Sua drops to her knees and starts to hold her leg. Everyone immediately stops what they're doing, and Sua is told to be rushed to the nurse's office by like WooYoung and everyone else. But as Sua goes to stand, MiRae, who had kind of knelt down to see if she was okay, moves to remove some glass shards from hurting Sua that were right by her foot. And WooYoung and KyungSeok both reach out at the same time to grab her arm to prevent her from getting hurt as well. But WooYoung was closer and quicker and has her hand in his. End of episode. Dun, dun, dun. Character of the hour.
Okay. I kind of have a tie. I don't know who's in first.
It's okay.
Am I chucking this?
I'm sorry. Let's hurry.
Okay.
That actually hasn't happened the whole time we've been down here, which is kind of amazing.
Thank you, Jesus.
Right?
So I have a tie. Again, I don't know who I like more right now in this moment, but between KyungSeok and WooYoung, our TA and our main man. One, because they both genuinely just want to make sure that MiRae is okay. Mm-hmm. Like, from the very beginning, checking on her. Neither of them really know the scope of the situation of what she's freaking out about, rightfully so. But they are wary of the other because they don't know what the other has in mind.
You're talking outside the restaurant.
Outside the restaurant, yeah. At the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
And that's very, like...
It's admirable in its own right.
There's a chivalry there. There's the honor system there of they're just like, dude, I don't know you. I don't know what your intentions are with this girl. Vice versa.
You put your gun down first.
But then... WooYoung, for just knowing that there's something wrong and calling Un in and being like, what is happening? I need you to tell me what is going on. And then calling ChanWoo out and being like, dude, I can ruin your life.
Try me.
Get it together, man. Like, you need to grow up, basically. And then for KyungSeok again, he's just brutal. He's honest. And he calls people out. That's been from episode 1. Like, he's just very straight. What you see is what you get, but it's not.
The thing is that he gauges people well, because the way that he calls out Sua is not the way that he calls out MiRae.
No, not at all. But it's in a way that both of them need to hear it.
Yeah, and he knows one is being deceptive from a place of self-gain, and the other is being deceptive from a place of fear.
Yeah, truly, and just being scared.
He's been very kind to her, like, this
he
whole
has her
time.
back. He has her back. He steps in and saves her from getting the crap beat out of her.
Taking a drink on her behalf to something as serious as physical assault.
Right. He steps in. He knows when it's, and so yes, they kind of are tying for me right now because they know how to stand up for what's right, basically. And in this episode, we needed that because clearly I was baby raging hard.
Just a little. My character of the hour is also WooYoung Sunbae. He is no nonsense, good senior. And, they're supposed to care for their juniors, right? That's kind of their role in the hierarchy of things. But I love that he stands up to ChanWoo, and he never abuses his position as a TA and never uses his age as like an intimidation mechanism, which is all ChanWoo says.
Yes.
And so I love the dichotomy of the two of them. We're classmates, we should have each other's backs.
Friends.
And he's like, yeah, no.
It's embarrassing to be your friend.
Yeah, exactly. Brutal.
Ouch.
So, for our character of the show, we currently have a KyungSeok and one WooYoung, right?
Yes.
Final thoughts.
It's getting better. The show is getting better.
I told you it would.
I know.
Okay, way sooner than Goblin ever got better for me, or Bad and Crazy for that matter. I want props. Props
I'm very,
where props
very
are
proud
due.
of you.
Oh,
very, very proud.
Thank you.
There's there.
We're bringing it back,
yeah.
baby.
No, it's definitely. I think also part of it is, if we're like, Goblin is a slower burn because there's such a deeper
slow burn.
But there's so many layers to that because of time travel and mythical creatures and
yeah.
Whereas this also, there's so many more characters that you have to have things develop faster. But I still stick with Sua is obnoxious. I cannot stand her. She is deceitful and manipulative, and I just no. I find KyungSeok hilarious. I think he is so funny, and but I appreciate the fact that the problem of judging others based on their appearance and not being able to just like check yourself, like that as a topic is addressed and how it's being addressed. At least personally, I like that. I like sometimes you have to have that Band-Aid ripped off to understand, like, hey, there's actually something else going on here and we need to address this. This needs to be something as more of a talking point to be better, just as people.
Yeah. And
so I am appreciating that a lot more. But also, it makes me rage, obviously, as you can.
I personally love the introduction of the second lead. I love how they immediately make him an honorable and honest guy no nonsense, what you see is what you get. Same thing as KyungSeok, honestly.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Which makes it it gives you some second lead syndrome, like right out the gates, right?
Here for it, though.
I like it.
We are second lead.
We didn't really have a love triangle happening in Goblin.
No, so we just had bromances.
Right. And honestly, if there had been a love triangle, it would have been way too much been awful for that.
It would have been an awful story.
Too convoluted for that story. Mm-hmm. I also love that the tension is starting to ramp up between Sua and MiRae.
Yes.
And KyungSeok. I love that between the three of them, things are really starting to heat up just a bit.
And Sua's complete delusion that he is going to like her when he has been nothing but cold. Mm-hmm. Nothing but, I see you for who you are.
She sees him as a challenge, something to be conquered.
Mm-hmm. Rather than, I don't want to be conquered because I'm
still a person.
I see people, not a notch.
I love that MiRae is starting to get her spidey senses tingling about Sua. Just enough to see that things aren't quite adding up with Sua's stories anymore, but not enough to write her off completely in the way that KyungSeok is trying to get her to.
Yeah, she's not there yet.
But she's not stupid, but she is naive.
Yeah, she has no experience in this. This is all...
Because she's cut herself off from people entirely.
Right, this is a whole new world that... It's hard to play a game that you don't know the rules to.
Mm-hmm. She's playing chess and Sua's playing... Wait. She's playing checkers and Sua's playing chess. Thank you. Well, okay, folks, that was episode 3. We'll keep...
Am I going to baby rage
trudging
more?
Along. You know... You may.
I may.
At
we'll be
points.
At that level.
At some points it might be.
Okay.
But it's okay.
Look forward to my rages.
I think that if we do a live... Are we going to do a live reaction with this one? We don't have to if you don't want to.
Is there an episode you want me to live react to?
If there was one, I think it'd probably be the last one.
Okay, like a finale.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of the everything comes to a head episode. It would be an interesting one.
We can discuss that as we get closer.
Let the good people decide. Finger guns. What's with the finger guns tonight? Okay, we need to stop.
Okay.
Bye. Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd love to connect with you on our Instagram at The KDrama Show. For more behind-the-scenes content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us on The KDrama Show with Ashely and Kim, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Dude, I have a wedgie.
That's so unfortunate.
It really is.
Those suck. Okay.
Actually, they wedge. Sorry, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
I'm trying.
Because, dang. Ashely over here doing the Lord's work. There's a Cheeto in my shoes. I mean, my chair. There's a snake in my boot. Oh no, it's on beans.
Why'd you do that to beans?